All right. Well, welcome. We're live, and we have just a fabulous team here today. So, Mr. Heller, now this is messed up. Now, all of you already know this. This is called Heller Barnes Ask Us Anything. And I don't know how I messed that up, but we're doing it and we're going with it. And so we have Carol Monda and Johnny Heller. So, Johnny, how's your week been? How you doing? And then when you're ready with that, you can introduce Carol first, and then tell us how your week is.
I still
I
listen.
love how happy.
What's the problem with our name?
It's backwards. I mean, it's
Oh, you
B
want
comes
Baarns-Audiobook?
before H. Don't you know your alphabet?
I want to. I never had anything to do. This thing was a fait accompli when I showed up. So it's all on you. Well,
Okay.
let's table
really
that
the
discussion about who's more
Baarns-Heller.
important. Yeah, and let's welcome the lovely and talented Carol Monda. Yay!
Hi, guys.
Carol
Hi.
Monda, yay! Hello.
Yay.
Carol Monda has been one of my dear friends for oh my goodness. Again, as I've said on this show before, I have so many friends that I'm so close to, I don't remember not knowing them.
Right. Yeah, that's how I feel too. Especially about
We met
you.
early on. I don't know when.
Yeah, it was Recorded Books Christmas party.
Do you remember when we met?
Yeah, the Recorded Books Christmas party. In probably 2007, 8.
Oh, it can up. Oh, frozen and back.
Yep.
I'm frozen?
Nope. Johnny's video just lost, but Johnny, we can hear you.
A little
And
technical
so
stuff.
yep, I see something's going on. Probably with your Wi-Fi there.
Everything's lost. Yeah.
So, but I hear you, we hear you, and we're going to keep on going because that's the beauty of live. So any of you have ever done theater, which, so I'll ask a question and tell Johnny. Johnny, you are being heard, even if you're not being seen. Okay. And if you have to jump out and come back in, and I'll reconnect.
It says I lost internet connection. It's going through my phone.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
reconnect
But
this.
I hear you there. So Carol, have you ever done any live theater? You've never acted. I've heard that you came
It's
at
going
this
through my iPhone.
from being a truck driver, and then you transitioned. There was a little poster in some truck stop, and you decided you'd become an audiobook narrator. Is that close?
You know, you're really close, except there was a little stint there of salmon fishing,
Oh,
for a living. And then it just got too cold. So I decided, okay, the boards, you get to wear costumes. They have layers. It's going to be warm.
And
under
that's
the
w're
lights.
both wearing the color we're wearing here. I'm doing this
Yeah,
in
that's
honor of
true.
our salmon fishing days. So how did you did you do live theater or
I did
acting?
do live theater, yes. When I was like 2, this is what my mom tells me. I sat on the television and said, I want to be an actress because I had just seen some commercial and I just thought that that was the coolest thing ever. So after like 5 years, I bugged them and they finally sent me to acting school. And my mom took me there every week for 11 years, except for the summers. And so that was at the Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, and we were in New Jersey. So she really sacrificed.
And you were 70 at that point, correct?
I was probably 68. You don't want to age me too much, Don.
I'm sorry. No. Were you was this a teenager? Was this a 20-year-old-ish?
I started when I was 7,
Oh,
and then I just went right into college to my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Drama. Acting, I think, is what they called it.
And then, so I assume that means you did a bunch of live community theater and stuff like that as well. Is that close?
I did a bunch of regional theater. I did some community theater when I was a preteen. But then, especially once I got to college, I did regional theater at like Ford's and Arena Stage and Kennedy Center and stuff like that.
Oh, all those no-name places that
those no-name DC places, yes.
Yeah, okay. So Johnny will be back in a minute here. He's off checking his tech stuff because he loves the tech. And
I know. He's so tech savvy, Don.
yes, he is. He's we call him, so he's joining us again, but we call him behind the scenes Mr. Tech, and I always kind of call him when I'm getting stuck on something. The next guy I call is Mr. Heller and say, Johnny, can you help me, please, because I'm stuck.
There's an advantage to doing that because the answer is always going to be no, I can't.
But you know what? Here's the thing when you do live. Now, you know this from doing live theater. stuff happens and you go with it and you move on. So one of the things, what now when you do audiobooks, what is kind of the difference between live theater and now I'm transitioning, I'm doing audiobooks? Isn't it all the same?
Oh, that's a nice setup. Clang, knock it right down.
All right.
It's very similar in some senses because you have to um, really explore and develop characters,
Okay.
but you don't have to wear the makeup or the costumes. You don't have to project down to the back of the house.
Uh,
Um, and you get to play all the parts with audiobooks, whereas generally speaking on the stage, you play one,
yeah.
maybe two.
Unless you're doing a one-person show, I'm guessing.
Right.
I've never done that.
Exactly.
I obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
You know,
Anna DeVere Smith, she does like 9,000 characters in her.
Carol and I have discussed this very thing, and we talk about it a lot because Carol has joined me in the New England retreat and other in the Splendiferous, and has been one of my go-to coaches for a long time. And it's not just because we have some agreements that happens, although it's easier. But one of the ideas is there's an organic theatrical element to audiobook performance. There's a script and there's an audience at the end users of the audience and stuff. The differences
True.
are in a theater, there's a group that you reach out to live. And if you go up, if you make a mistake, if your camera doesn't work, your internet goes out, like happens here, you have to you adjust on the fly. You do the best you can,
You
and
freak
then the next
out.
time you do the show, you go over and see what cues are missed, what happened, and let's try and fix it. And before the next, if you do it Wednesday matinee, you fix it Wednesday night. It won't happen.
Yeah.
In audiobook performance, while it's theatrical in a sense, it's much more cinematic in its actual presentation. You're much smaller. As Carol says, there's no jazz hands. You're not singing out to row LL and sing out Louise. There's none of that. Everything's, I always like to, I tell my students, it's kind of like, the level you want to be at for most of it is right here, a lot quieter, a lot softer,
That's right.
very much like you're in a bar telling someone that you gave them herpes.
Well, I've
it-
missed that conversation so
Yeah.
far.
Well, I haven't given you herpes yet. I'll be out in
All the
LA.
time,
I'll be
all the
coming to
time.
LA soon, Don. So
okay, but I want to
Pucker
define a
up,
term
baby.
here. Carol, yeah, all right. Well, I'm waiting with bated breath. Carol,
Very good.
Carol, can you explain? He uses the word cinematic.
Yes.
Being a novice, I don't know anything. How would you define that term cinematic? And then we'll let Mr. Heller define his term. So you're saying I don't need to be cinematic. Well, that's good because I don't even know what it is. How do you describe that for a narrator? What's the difference between if you were cinematic and you weren't?
Well, actually, I think Johnny's point was that it is cinematic versus being stagey. So everything is smaller, more focused. It's like some very famous British actor said that acting on stage is like performing surgery with a scalpel, and acting on film is like performing surgery with a laser. And I think that's a really great image, at least for me, that singularity. But I think with film, you know, I use this analogy on stage. You see a fight, and somebody says, "I'm gonna kill you," and when it's just you and the mic, you just kind of want to grit your teeth and say, "I'm gonna kill you," and it's almost more menacing than the loud, even involving your body on stage. It still makes you, it makes you connected, but it still makes you what's funny, Johnny?
my dog the door was ajar. It's pushing his nose in to open the door to come in.
Aw. Oh, you can bring him in.
He's in.
Oh, goody. Oh,
he hangs
good.
out here,
Oh,
yeah.
we're gonna have a little guest star.
So here's what I like
But
about
anyway, I
the,
think
the example on that that I use is if you've ever seen a mom or a dad in a store and their kid is doing something, but I've seen I just had this vision of this one mom where she said to her kid, "Stop that." And the way she said, "Stop," she was trying not to let anybody else in the store know that she was telling her kids something. She didn't yell at them in the store, but she said a couple words to them, and you could see the terror in their eyes. It cracked me up as a parent. I just saw it, and I suspect, is
Yeah.
that close to the idea that you can be menacing without being loud? Am I
Absolutely, because what I love about the cinematic aspect, I do speak for a living. I really do. Is that all you have to do is think it, and it should come out of your voice. And if you place it in your gut, it can be really small but powerful.
so if I think I'm pretty, it'll come out?
Yes, absolutely.
It'll come out that you think that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The point to make is emotions are not grounded in volume.
Oh,
Yes, that's right.
That's as simple as I
Exactly.
can put it. It's you can
Yeah.
feel everything you want to feel and still keep your decibels at a reasonable level. Yeah, one
Yes.
has to
And
remember.
also,
Go ahead.
no, you go.
All right. Well, just people listen, like it's one to one. They're on an earphone, so yelling
Exactly.
is certainly not the best way to really keep your audience engaged. It's
Right. And not assaulted.
yeah, it's like God,
I was
shut
just going
up.
to say that
Hmm.
sometimes all you really need to do is, I mean, from this perspective, from the narrator perspective, it it feels like if I see it, what I'm describing, then I can paint that picture for them. If I don't see what I'm saying, as a camera would, then I think it's just a muddy mess. You know.
Yep.
so are
That's
you, when you're narrating, then you are, just to clarify, I know you said it, but you're seeing the whole thing in your head, the scene, the characters, the emotion. You're playing that scene in your head. Is that correct? Close?
Yeah, and you're smelling the atmosphere. Maybe there's coffee brewing, that kind of stuff you really can do if you are tuned in. Johnny is laughing at the dog
no,
eating.
no, no. I'm
Oh,
I'm
wait, wait.
happy you're speaking. You're singing to the choir here, love. I everything you're saying, I appreciate. It's exactly
Oh,
what I think has to happen for an engaging
right.
performance.
Yeah. And I think also here's the last step of that cinematic experience is that it should evoke a feeling, even if it's about, she picked up the tea kettle, as long as you know the context and why she's picking up the tea kettle. Maybe she wants to impress her date who's upstairs still asleep, and she wants to you know bring crumpets and tea, um, that kind of thing, and how that informs how the character feels, maybe nervous, maybe excited, you know oh, I'm trying my chocolate rubos for the first time.
What are you working on now, Carol?
Um, Actually, I'm doing mostly VO. I just did a tribute for Turner Classic Movies yesterday, and I'll do another one this afternoon. Um, and I don't really know what's coming down the pike otherwise. Um,
Do you do a lot
I
of
had some,
voiceover, or you have done a lot of voiceover? Or, I mean, in
yeah,
you 20, 50, 70, 90, 200, 200?
I would say,
You like my math?
Yeah, nice.
yeah, I kind of do.
Nice
Yeah.
geometric progression. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Um, I would say that it's 60-40,
Okay.
60 audiobooks, 40 VO. Yeah, but I also coach. But here's the thing. It's January. It's been very slow the last half of the year especially. And so now I feel like it's time to market again and re reintroduce myself to people, or maybe not introduce is not the word, but to
Yeah.
just
Well,
to of their doorway.
well, one of the things that people don't understand is during COVID, I think there were a half a billion new people that came into narration and voiceover.
Mm,
Okay,
mm,
maybe that's undercounting. And so
right,
people
right,
that have been around a while can almost get, there's so much noise among the newer crowd, which is appropriate. People need to market themselves, that sometimes people don't realize all the players that have been around for a decade or more, or
right.
whatever, even 5 years, because there's so much noise among the newer crowd that's come in. And so, yeah, everybody has to continue to market, and that'll continue for a long time. Now, I am also seeing the unfortunate thing that a lot of our COVID friends that joined us, they didn't make a lot of money because it was COVID time and there was all this competition. and they're starting to drop out, unfortunately. And some of them didn't go to people like you and Johnny and get the skills or advance themselves enough to where they're wanted by the people that pay good money these days. And I think they would be well advised to take some coaching from one of you too, but that's a different discussion.
I would agree. I would agree, but I also think that there are a lot of people who it's kind of almost the opposite in many cases where somebody starts out because it's like, oh, I lost my job from COVID and now I should just, I know, talk for a living. That kind of thing. I can do that. My son likes me to read to him at bed. Um, you know, but a lot of them, a lot of them, the new narrators, they are finding ways to get work. They are using social media like gangbusters. TikTok has changed the whole landscape for a lot of people. Canva even has
Yes.
afforded a way to make videos and really cool looking promos and and the old troglodytes. Well, I won't include you two, but
Yeah,
for
thanks.
me, it's like my palms sweat just thinking about Canva. What? How do I? Where's the button? You know?
I actually used Canva yesterday. I'm working on
Did you?
yeah. I put together I'm putting together a New Orleans workshop for May.
Yes.
So I use Canva to put the coaches I want to get together, and I don't even know if there's people are going to join us or not. But I did a Canva thing. I said I don't know how to do this, but I did it. So
You
the only way to
did?
do it is to do it. Yeah. What I can't do, I've tried TikTok once or twice, and I don't quite understand it. I'm a little concerned about the Chinese connection to it,
Yeah.
and also every time why people love it, I get a little I don't know, weirded out by all the weird stuff that comes up on TikTok. And also, I'm on Instagram, which I think is easy as pie, and that's fine. And people, you can,
Yes.
people. Here's the deal: the troglodytes, the older people. I mean, we've a lot of the people who hired us and cast us aren't even in the business anymore. They've moved on. They've retired. Now they're fishing in Maine or something.
That's
Um,
right.
so now there's a whole new cast and crew who do the hiring, who are younger and who are on social media.
Yep.
Yes.
Their life bringing, their style, everything is social media connected. They grew up on Facebook. They grew up on TikTok. That's
Exactly.
so they're there. So I think there's a lot. I will never say, hey, that's not the right. You don't need to be there. If that's what you want, you know how to do it. You should definitely be there. Frankly, I don't understand why seeing a narrator lip sync to Journey, just a small town girl. I don't know how that gets you the next job, but
Oh my
if
God.
I see stuff like that, I say, here's my, and or they're just doing weird crap. I'm like, I don't understand. So there you are with your
Okay.
weird
But I
2-minute
want to
thing.
well, let me address
Yeah,
that just a second.
yeah,
The biggest thing in business is attention. And one of the things that's crazy in if nobody knows who we are, and nobody knows you in our audience, if nobody knows who you are, you have no chance. Now, just because I'm on TikTok doesn't mean my attention is good attention, but in some ways they do take the kind of path of any attention is good attention. If they then leverage it into good things later, cool. Just
Yeah.
having attention doesn't help me. I mean, my dog can get attention, but that doesn't change my economy. So we have to go beyond that. We do need to do some things that cause attention and have the other secondary follow-up stuff, which is something of substance or something that makes them want to find out what else we are doing. So we all, especially as elderly folks, me senior, I get the senior discount at Denny's, so I know I qualify.
Congratulations. You
And
go
yeah,
to Denny's.
it
That's
was
even
it
more
was
troglodyte.
I I aspired to that. Now I'm there. Anyway, but beyond being there and getting some attention, we then must take that and turn that into something else. So it's kind of a two-step process. If nobody knows about you,
Yeah.
of the younger crowd, then we have those people aren't going to hire us. So we need both. Then they find out, oh, that Heller guy who was doing the dog fart jokes, then he actually is a world-class narrator. Carol's just amazing. And she also did something fun, well, you know this. Johnny, have you ever done comedy?
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
Just
help you, but it does help tremendously because you're a nice guy. Carol, you're a nice person, and people then are drawn to the other thing. So I just say we all have to do social media way more than we want, and there's
Yeah.
no one
yeah,
path. And I don't know exactly how TikTok works, but I do know
yeah.
that if you build a big enough following, then you can leverage it for
Well,
other things.
here's
Yeah.
a story I've heard. Carol, maybe you've encountered this because now,
Yeah.
you know, people still. We're going to get some of these questions in a second. There's a misconception about some of the oh, more
Seasoned?
seasoned narrators and how they get work, and what they do. Like I'm Golden Voice, and I've done all, so I'm a known guy.
Yeah.
And people say, well, Johnny probably doesn't audition. Johnny auditions all the time, and Johnny doesn't get half the auditions. I was 1 for 6 for a while. Now I'm like, 3 for what am I, 3 for 9 or something. So I got a little better, but you got to audition, and of course I'm still going to audition because a lot of the newer people don't know me, and also it's different now because
Right.
someone from Harper who we've worked with 1,000 times, here's a book for you, Johnny. Now, once in a while, let's say Eric and Dream. Yeah, I've got friends who are publishing. Johnny, we have a book. We're not gonna. It's yours if you want to do it if you have time. But now most of the things says, here's a book we'd love you to audition for. And so what happens is, and everybody out there listening and watching needs to understand, they'll say, here's a book, Johnny, you audition, and Don, you audition, and Sean Pratt and Scott Brick, you audition. And I'll throw in this other person who's got, 30 million followers on TikTok.
Right.
Well, the
Right.
author, who has a lot more say anymore, may think that one of the seasoned actors can do a good job, but they like the idea of those TikTok people
Yeah.
Sure.
because they've
Yeah.
got it. And the author may say, so it far be it from me to say, hey, don't waste your time. That's just nonsense. Don't. If someone tells you that, they are wrong, and
They
it's
are
not
wrong.
fair for me. The way I got into the business, and Carol, I'll ask you how you got in. The way I got, you can't even get in anymore. So
Right.
how can I tell people to get in doing what I do when you can't? It's that
Right.
avenue is blocked.
Right.
So
Right.
there's new ways to do it. Carol, how did you get started?
They-
And we'll take some questions from the audience.
From the audience. I love his voice. Doesn't it just okay, so I was on stage, I was working on a show at Arena, and there was another show coming up right after it, and in between I had like a 2-week break. And so my friend Grover Gardner, who was also an actor in DC with whom I had acted on stage, said, hey, I just got into this like audiobook stuff. It's really cool, and you can do it when you're not working, when it's a downtime for a show. So I started by they called it monitoring instead of engineering. So I was on the other side of the glass for like 2.5 years, and then I
Oh.
finally just made a demo and sent it in, and it was to Books on Tape, which is not even really. I mean, it's not as popular as it was back then because it was kind of the only game in town, along with the Library Association and one other, I think. Um, but also in the old days, like you said, Johnny, you got the casting directors. They actually acted as casting.
Yeah.
Now they just act as liaison between narrator and the author has to have 3 samples to listen
Yes.
to
Yeah.
and to choose among. So anyway, that's how I started.
Well, great.
Yeah.
I think Sean had mentioned on our show that he also started with Grover. Grover started a lot of careers.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
I love listening to Grover. He is such an everyman sound. I really quite
He
like him.
really, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's.
Um,
I keep
mm.
thinking he would be great in our town.
Can we go over some of these questions, Don? Can you
Yes.
focus on some of those? See
So
where you want.
so one person was talking about that they're on Facebook to help them know who the veterans are and learn from them. So Harry, just so you know,
Hi,
Facebook
Harry.
is kind of a it does work, and I'm on it all the time. But note that Facebook tends to skew older, so there's nothing wrong with that. You can learn all about the veterans there, but also all of us who are we're just going to say more mature, aged, youth challenged would be a better way of saying that. Then we also have to, in addition, go other places in addition, because if the only place I'm at is Facebook, it's a skewed world.
Yeah.
It's a good world. There's a ton of great information there, but it can't be our only place, or we can't stay there. I shouldn't say can't. I don't advise somebody stays there because over time, other things pop up, and the kids and the middle kids, the 20-year-old kids, the 30-year-old kids,
Yeah.
those people that can hire are also watching the other platforms, and so we need both. So that's a good place to
Yes,
start. Next,
that's a really
any
great
comments
point.
from my two friends here?
I think what you said is completely accurate. So yeah, I mean, and whether or not you go to the Clubhouse or Insta or TikTok or gosh, I don't even know what's out there now. There's all the X competitors, the Twitter competitors,
Right.
wherever you feel
That's
comfortable.
right.
But
Threads and
you need to be out there and see. You know what you want to do for information. See where the seasoned professionals are sharing information.
Mhm.
Get it from them. Get it from the groups. But see where the authors are going. Where are they
and,
gathering?
and then go
And
to the
gather there. Go where that's where the work is.
Yeah.
yes. But
And
that's a
then
great idea,
yeah,
Johnny. Like gather your knowledge and then apply it to the youngsters.
yeah. And here's the lovely Melissa K. Benson,
Oh, Melissa.
who will be working with
Hi,
us in New
Melissa.
Orleans. I'll talk to you guys about that.
Oh, good.
I signed up for speed dating, quick pitch. Oh yes, I signed up for a number. You know, the APA has that speed dating thing. So a number of years ago, I signed up and I got into it. But then I thought, well, gosh, people already know who I am. Here's what I thought at that time, because I've changed my thinking. But at that time, I thought, people know who I am. Let me back out and give it to somebody who doesn't have
Aw.
my connections, which was really altruistic and sweet of me, but it was stupid because I didn't get to meet the younger, newer people that I should have. And the other times I haven't been picked again to do it. That was my
Oh,
shot. And the fact is, I still don't have an elevator pitch. You know, if I'm in the elevator chatting with you, you're going to be gone before I get to what I want to tell you. You know, but wait, what about my job? You know, but wait. yeah, yeah.
but do you find that when you did do this, did you fashion a or did you actually not do it?
No, I think I talked to Melissa, and I talked to some other people who are more savvy about it than I. I know Anna Clement does a good job. I think Melissa Moran is pretty good at that.
Oh yeah.
Some other so talk about. I want to talk to people. Hey, how do I sum up? And see, because part of it is you think I'm Johnny Heller. You either know if you don't know I
You
am,
know who
something's
I
wrong
am.
with you. Well, you can't have that attitude. That's nonsense. That's a stupid
Absolutely.
attitude. And I promise you, I had it. I say, well, if they don't know who I am. Well, if they don't know who I am, then I haven't done my work.
Right.
I need to make sure that this name and what it means, what I do for you, is out there. So I
Yes.
am developing an elevator pitch thing. If I decide to rejoin the APA and try the speed dating again, I can do it. I'm not a
See.
member currently of the APA.
Yeah, and
I
that'd be
see.
the same
I
as
see.
me saying I'm going to list my business in the yellow pages.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
for all my age challenge friends, you're gonna have to go look up that reference because you've never had yellow pages. We look everything up on the internet and Google it. But in the
yeah.
old days, we had paper and books, and that's how you learned about who was
That's right.
where, and there were
Yeah.
ads and stuff.
Sat down with your encyclopedia and your yellow pages, and
That's
that was your
right, and we
evening.
were good there. So here's a question from Chris. Hey, do you measure your words per minute speed? If so, what is your ideal words per minute for fiction and nonfiction? I actually know the answer to this because I won't give you the numbers until you guys pipe in on this. What's the perfect words per minute on fiction and nonfiction?
Okay, so the only answer I have is I have to first read the book for like a chapter and get a sense of how is this written? How dense is it? What's the style of it? So the words per minute change book to book, literally. Even if they give me a book and say it's 6 hours, inevitably, well, not inevitably, but very often it's 7 at least. Um, and so that's why I do my own math at the beginning. And also, I slow the F down.
I don't know where you got that. Why would you do that?
I'm not sure. I just I feel it from it within.
Okay.
I feel it from without. When
What about you, Johnny?
I don't have an answer. I don't know. For me, there isn't an answer. The specificity of that kind of question.
Right.
You know, how many beats per minute should your heart be in when it's at rest or something? If you're
Right.
healthy, I guess there's an answer to that. I don't know,
Right.
and I don't know
mean,
the answer to
there's
this.
I know the answer.
What's the answer?
Oh, what's the answer?
There is no answer. It's all
Ah,
about the
Ah,
context of the context of the material And it would be the same as if I'm talking to a young child, I'm going to probably speak a little slower. If someone's talking to me, Johnny always talks slow to me for good reasons because I don't
Mm,
comprehend quickly. But it's going to vary, and there is no one answer to that, and it is totally dependent. And that's
yeah.
where if you talk to a good coach, then they will help you with, hey, that should be read intensely, and that means quicker. Or, boy, I should be thinking about that scene differently so that it comes out more dramatic, maybe with some space and time, and the pacing
Breathing.
goes a certain way based on the character, based on the
Yeah.
scene, nonfiction, fiction, even in nonfiction.
Even nonfiction,
Yes.
absolutely. I mean, I know that there's someone with whom Johnny lives, in addition to the dogs, who has always helped me with the general rule that 10,000 words is an hour.
Okay.
But she will also say, and I am speaking of the lovely and talented Joanna Perrin. She will say exactly what you said, that sometimes it's a book on Chinese history and you've got 15 Chinese words on one page. That will increase the time a little bit.
Absolutely. The speed you read at is the one that creates the most compelling and engaging listen for the end user. As simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
It can't be any other way because you just there's no way. I read somewhere some years ago that in speech, listeners here, us right now, listeners tend to get only every third word you say. That's what they hear.
Yeah.
Because that's how our dysfunctional our minds are. Well, if
yep.
that's the case, I mean, you've got to you have to take your time.
So,
I mean, you have to.
okay, so Bruce asks, I'm going to change subject. How often does the author get the
Hi,
final
Bruce.
word on casting?
Bruce.
Bruce.
We spent all of New England at the campfire pretending we were Australians, calling Bruce. Bruce.
Bruce.
The answer is more often than not. In these days, it
Yes.
really depends on what. It depends on the deal the author and or the author's agent signed with the publisher. It could be a deal where the author says, "I have final say," which didn't
Mhm.
used to be the case when Carol and I started in our businesses. Um, more often than not now, the author will have a say. They tend to be directed toward
Mm,
talent that the casting director, the publisher, thinks is. So the publisher's not going to give them 15 people.
right.
They'll narrow when there's an audition. Let's say we've all been on the Dreamscape portal or Ahab portal, and you see the auditions. And so 75 to 30,000 of us audition for the role. Whoever's in charge weeds that down to 3 or 4 or 5, so that the author is not listening to 30,000 auditions. So those 3
Right.
to 4 are what generally the publisher wants. The author pick one of these 3 is probably the way to go.
Right.
And the
They
author
encourage.
picks. Yeah, the author will pick from those 3 or say, no, I don't like those 3. Give me 3 others.
Yeah.
But more often in these days, right now,
Right.
the author has a lot to say.
And
Yeah.
and obviously, it seems like that is the direction that you two would predict it's going to continue to go. Is that correct?
Oh,
Incorrect?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
absolutely. Which is one of the things I think is encouraging about AI, that they still oftentimes the author, now that the author is more involved, the author probably, generally speaking, wants a human.
Oh, yeah, you would hope. You would hope that they
Yeah.
would understand. You would hope they understand the value of that,
But
But that also means, can I be less skilled then in the future if there's an AI option?
Right.
well, let's jump
That's
really quick on
terrible.
that.
That is
No, you can't. You
terrible.
need to be better than AI to keep working. But I will say this: if an author has a say in the casting, it's it throws a wrench into the works that wasn't there before, and that the author hears someone who may not be as good as Carol, for example, or good as Joanna, for example, or as good as who did I mentioned, Melissa Kay's out there. But then they hear a voice what just isn't as good talent wise, acting wise, choice wise. But that voice sounds like the voice they have in their head when they wrote the
And
book.
that's right.
Right.
Exactly.
There's no accounting for that kind of nonsense. There's
Right.
nothing one
Yes.
can do just because they heard, their best friend in second grade. My best friend in second grade was Ricky Schultz. I don't know what he said, but if you don't know
Ricky.
Ricky Schultz, you know what Ricky sounded like. Well, then, for God's sakes, I can't hire you because you don't sound like Ricky. Well, that's
Right.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
I,
that
Or
that happens, and we can't fight that. You can't.
no, no, you really can't. And I remember this from the acting days, Johnny. You probably have experienced this where I was just telling somebody about this story where I was a reader, which means during an audition, um, you get to be the scene partner of the
Right.
people auditioning. So I was a reader, and we had someone playing my mom, and there must have been 25 people just that day. They were holding 3 days of auditions, and this one woman walked in and she killed it. She nailed it. And she walked out, and like half of us were like smiling. And the main casting director said, I don't know, very good, but funny ankles.
You say funny ankles?
Yeah, yeah. So, and she didn't get it. I mean, God, I hope it wasn't at the ankles, but she was very serious. She was not joking. It was like, she was worried that the audience would be distracted by her funny ankles.
Wow.
So
I
it's
guess
that
I've had
same
that a lot
thing.
too. That's been why I didn't get cast so many times. Now that you, but I was
Ah,
hoping that would go under the radar.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Now
I
you
think you have
brought it
very
up.
comely
Yeah.
ankles.
Okay.
I usually lose out because how does someone of your stature have so little stature? So that's
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
So Carol, if so, right now how do you find auditioning? So do you go through agents and casting directors most of the time? Are you finding books? Do you ever reach out to authors? How do you find work? And let's back. How do you suggest newer people find work
Ah,
these days? That would probably be even more helpful.
yeah. So I would say that it still comes down to what it did in the old days, which is researching who's out there, what are they doing, what do these companies generally tend to publish, even though most of them, I think, would say that they're very diverse, and I think it's true. But still, you can tell that certain companies really love sci-fi, and others have a lot of romance or whatever. And so I think that's number one: research who is out there. And then the second thing I would say is social media.
Okay.
But I also think that direct marketing is kind of the way to go, even if it's you have to wait to market until you've met them at a mixer or a social engagement of some kind,
Oh,
um, so that you can say, oh, I met you at CC, or I heard you speak at Wawa, and I here's my sample.
so are you recommending that people leave their apartment or their house occasionally
On occasion, I think it's a good idea.
and attend
And like
events?
get dressed first, put on pants,
Okay, yeah,
you know.
you're talking my thing. Yeah, clothes make the man in my case. Anyway,
Well,
so
with those ankles, certainly. Yes.
yeah,
See, see
don't.
the callback?
Yeah, great
That's a
callback.
callback. Yeah.
Deconstructing humor is awesome.
Yeah.
So what events do you, so over the last,
Oh,
because with COVID, now that we're coming out of it, are there specific events that you like to attend? Is there things that make sense? Um,
I really like the mixers at that the APA does. They don't do them as often as they had been doing for a while, but maybe they will start again. But I like that idea anyway, because you're bringing all of the people together, at least on this coast. Um, Now, when it's the APAC, when it's the conference time, everybody's coming in. Well, not everybody, but most people are coming in. Most producers, publishers, even authors are coming, and so those are the best kind of mixers to
well,
find
how
your
do I stand out
prey.
if I have my ankles covered?
Well, it's all about the shoes in that case.
Okay. No, how do I stand out though among, so if I go to APEC, if I go to one of these mixers, should I stand in the back of the room and just observe, or and then what do you recommend?
So I would think that, and I would hope that Johnny would weigh in on this, that, if you like step up onto the bar and start doing like the can,
Yeah.
you will be remembered.
Okay.
It's like attention, like you said, it makes a difference. No, I think number one, you don't glom. If you see a glom, if you see a throng of people around that one person, leave them alone for a bit until that throng thins out a bit. But again, I think there's a lot to be said for. I spied you at the bar last night, and it was really great to see you, but I didn't want to bug you. But here I am bugging you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of it, first off, the mixers, which are lovely times, don't have as much publisher and casting people present as they used to
As they used to.
because early on it was great, but then it became just it was no fun for them.
Right,
So many
right.
people and you have to understand if people are whining about Taylor Swift being on TV for football games, which is just stupid. Not her being on TV, but whining
No,
about it is
but it's
stupid. The
stupid to
whining is
whine about.
stupid. Here's the
Yeah.
deal: if you see her and you want to say you're not going to get close enough to her to say something or
Right.
to stand out without you're a jerk or something, it's the same. Consider that these publishers and casting peoples are junior Taylor Swifts,
Right.
and you got to give them their
Yeah.
space a little bit. Got to treat them right.
That's
And I think
good.
it's important if you go to events that have publishers and cast. I know that Dion Audio has a lot of these master classes that you can go to. Scott Brick and I will have about 7 or 8 or 9 publishers at the LA event coming up on March 3rd.
Yay.
The New England Narrator Retreat. You spend 3 days, 3.5, 4 days getting to know Eric Black and Rin Krause and who am I missing? Steve Wagner,
Right.
Yeah.
from McMillan. So, and I'm telling you, if there's a chance to get to know and meet, and as Carol said, if you didn't get a chance, if there's Don Baarns, casting director from Penguin Random House, right there, the thing, and he's surrounded by people, or he's surrounded by his buddies,
Right.
having beers, shooting the breeze, you don't want to say, "Hey, can I have a job?" Because they know that.
Right.
Just send a note. Say, I saw you. I didn't want to bother you. You look like you're having a great time. I'm so glad to have seen you. And I know who you are. I'd like to, and just that's nice. That's a nice follow up.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and one other thing you got to remember from our end of the business, we're looking for work now, immediately. No,
Yeah.
unless you have a book, or let's say I'm not available till mid-March, whatever.
Right.
That's my schedule. I'll use Don Baarns again as an example. Let's say Don Baarns is the publishing guy. He may say, "God, I really like meeting Johnny Heller. I could probably use him, but he may not have anything for me until 2025.
Right.
That's when the book crosses his desk. You, meaning you out there in the audience, have to pay attention, have to understand your schedule is not
Yeah.
their schedule.
That's right.
And that's just the way, but you can make a positive impression or a negative impression. Just make the choice.
Exactly.
Well, and so
Yes.
should I just talk to one casting director and then I've done my job?
Yes, if you're gonna ask those questions.
Yeah. Well, the answer is simple.
Yeah.
Well, you do talk to one at a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that.
Yeah. And then the question
Although,
is,
actually, that brings into the story, back to the speed. I mean, the quick pitch, because you're speaking into the blackness, but probably 20, 25 producers are out there. So you've got 2 minutes to, wow them.
Yeah. And
So-
sometimes it takes a while. I think I told you guys that one of my bucket lists was to get some Simon and Schuster work. That hadn't worked for them.
Yeah.
I spent years trying. They finally hired me at the end of last year, and I'm like, great. So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't. It just they will when the book is right for
When the
you,
book
they'll come
happens.
find you.
So here's a
true.
question. So you're working
So
on a book
true.
right now. Do you totally stop auditioning for other books because you have a book for 6 weeks? Do I wait till I'm totally done to start my new audition process? How often when you're in the middle of a book, do you ignore all other casting opportunities?
Carol?
He says
Carol?
with a little smile.
Well, there's a number of answers actually.
Yeah, I
You want to?
think that for me anyway, I like to just take 1 day a week and do something marketing wise,
Okay.
even if I'm doing a book at the time, just to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening, but also to keep myself in front of them, a little bit.
Okay, so
To
you're once a
remind
week.
them.
So
Yeah.
that's cool. Johnny?
My rule of thumb in terms of the business, I do something positive for my business once a day, every day. Something,
That's
whatever that is.
great.
It could be 10 minutes, could be 5 minutes. Carol's in the dark.
I know, I'm
But in
trying.
terms of auditioning, here's the deal. Let's use that Dreamscape portal or Ahab portal.
Mhm.
Here's a book. Okay, let's say I'm in the middle. Joanna and I are doing a book right now. I just finished Blues Brothers. Now we're doing a book on the history of the Village Voice. It's well over 700 pages, and it's Joanna and I. It's all it is. It says, like, Carol Monda, author. So Carol Monda, and Joanna will read Carol Monda's line. Then uh, 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 um, Johnny Heller, and Johnny Heller read. So, and it's just bouncing back and forth. It's a long book. However, I know when it's due. So when I look at other things, here's an audition for a book I'd like. Here's when you need to turn it in. You can't just audition for a book that's going to be due the same time the book you're working on is due, unless you're able to do both things. So you need to pay attention to your schedule. Don't make your schedule the issue for the publisher.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can, if you're offered a book, say, how is this a concrete deadline? If it's not, I've got to finish this other book by February 15th. I can start yours and get it into you instead of February 29th this year. I can get it in March 5th or something.
Yes.
So, you can say that, but look at when they want it due. If it fits in
Yeah.
your schedule, and you know your schedule, if it fits, audition. For God's sakes, audition. You should never, ever not audition because you're in the middle of a book. That book's going
Right.
to end. And then what?
Right. Although there are some people I've heard say that if they call you and you're not available, they don't want to call you again. But I think those are the people who don't really cast very often.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
crazy talk.
that's a,
Usually, know what it is? Like, it's when you're looking for a job. Let's say you have no job at all. You look for a job, it's harder than hell. If you're gainfully employed and then look for a job, you find one pretty quickly.
yeah, so true.
I tend to think that if you say, listen, I appreciate your offering me the book, but I'm in the middle of a project. So can you change the deadline? No. Okay, well then, sorry, I can't do it. I hope you'll work with you next time. I don't
Yeah.
believe there's any negativity there.
No,
I don't
I
think so.
agree.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's important that they know that you are a working actor, that it's not just that you're waiting around for that one company to come and, save
Yeah.
you, but that you're actually working as a freelance actor and you're doing lots of different. Yeah.
Carol, I
Johnny?
see our dear friend Sarah Shekels is in the audience. Tell us a little about what you and
Sarah.
Cheryl are doing. Sarah are doing in the New England area in April.
Okay, so we've got this great wrong thinning cape. Check. That's great. That's very
We
smart.
love Sarah. I love
We
Sarah
do.
Shekels.
We
Yep.
love her.
Yep.
Yes. So Sarah had this brainstorm of having a small group, audiobook oriented in the New England area for people who generally can't afford, let's say, to go to, you know,
More expensive things.
right, more expensive things. So it's called Audiobooking in Andover. It's Andover, Massachusetts. And we did it last year. It was really a success. And then this year it sold out in a day, within hours,
Well,
because it's small, but also because I think the reputation is already there that people had fun. And so the buzz is
10, 20 people max, that kind of idea?
25. I think this year we're allowing 28.
Nice.
Yeah. So Sarah and I are sort of co-producing, but she's really doing most of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just supporting.
Yeah, I've worked with you. I know how that goes.
Yeah. I bring the coffee. But it's a really great day. And I think that what we try to do is make it different from certainly the New England Narrators Retreat, but also even things that you do see in workshops throughout the year. We really work hard to try to program things that aren't available other places.
It's great.
Yeah. So it happens April 19th, and it's already sold out. So, next year, just put it on your calendar. It's usually the third week in April.
Great.
So somebody's asking
third
about,
Friday.
do you two even send emails? Are you maintaining an email list and sending to them on a regular basis? Now, first off, that can work great, and some people do it. A lot of people don't do it. What's your take on that?
I think that it is really true, Victor. There's the return is uneven, and I find that people really need to. There's a rule of thumb. I remember some producer was saying, you need to contact me 5 times before I even like register you.
Right.
So number one is persistence and consistency. But I also think that there are ways that you could maybe mention that producer on social media, or tag them or something. That might be another way in that will resonate for them.
When you do this
What do you
kind of
think?
stuff, you think about everybody think about your favorite topic. And if you really are honest about it, you're going to find your favorite topic is you. So, what do you think the favorite topic is of all the people you're reaching out to?
Yes, them.
Turn it around a little bit so it's not they know what you want. And Victor, the goal of emailing is not to get a response email.
Right.
Stop emailing me, Victor. You don't want that. So yeah, Victor, you son of a bitch, leave me alone. You don't want that. What you
No,
want,
yeah.
what you want is for them to get to know you in a positive way.
Right.
So that why they said, that Victor Warren. Yeah, I'm gonna give that guy a listen. He's emailed me 19 times. I mean, just now, you know what I mean? It's not you're not a pain in the ass, but you send notes, hey, and your notes have to be for a reason. And they can never be, hey, why didn't you respond to my email? It's gotta
Right.
be,
No.
I just did a great new book, or I think I've got this Australian accent down. Here's a little link to what I've just done. Something that they may or may not look, but it gives them a reason. Or just say, I just finished a workshop with Sarah and Carol up in Andover. My goodness, what an experience that was. You should. If you've ever been there, it's great country. Just stuff. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Make it short to the point.
Human.
They know what you want. Don't worry about a response. Some of these casting people, publishing people, are friends of mine. So when I email, say, hey, Steve Wagner, I like. We're pals, I think. If I say, hey, Steve, you want to grab lunch? I expect them to say, hey, yeah, I'd love to, or no, I can't. I'm really busy. Let's try something. That's different because there's a friendship there.
Right.
If it's just business, I don't expect to get responses. I don't. A lot of times I don't.
I don't
I send things
respond
out.
to you.
Yeah. I know. Well, a lot of people don't respond to anything I say. But the point is the point of an email and an email campaign and a marketing campaign is to get you noticed in a positive way,
Yep.
not necessarily to get a return letter. Who gives a rat's ass?
But Johnny, I think that was gold there, that you mentioned the idea that you have to have a reason to talk with them or to reach out to them, I should say.
Yeah. Find a reason, make a reason.
Find a reason. It's a new sample. It's a new book review.
Yes, it's a new. What do you have going on new? But so then the other thing is this. So Victor mentioned strategic emails. What's my definition of strategic? It's because I need work this week, or I'm solving a problem for them. And so then the other thing is, am I good at sending emails? And I don't know, which means I probably have to go find a source of what are good techniques. Same thing we do for acting. It's helpful if we go to Carol, we go to Johnny, we go to Joanna, and we find out what good acting is. Some of us are doing email, or I think it's great, but my audience doesn't, because I'm not an email expert. And I may have to go find some people. If I'm going to use that as part of my marketing, then I want to go and learn about it. If I'm going to do TikTok, you know that there are classes out there for TikTok and making the most of TikTok. There are classes out there for making the most of LinkedIn. I'm a big fan on LinkedIn. I think everybody in this business should be on LinkedIn. And but it's not about that I think LinkedIn is good. Then I have to take the next step and say, 1 hour a week, I'm going to learn a little bit more about LinkedIn and how to make it better. We do that with this channel. We're going, how do we get the word out to more people? And we have to find ways that get to the people, or get to who we want to hear us. So
Don, let me say, I think you should do a workshop on LinkedIn, either via Zoom or a real one. And I think definitely start thinking about, because I want you to do it in New England. At one of the sessions I can attend, because I want to know how to use it better. And I'll say one thing. Here's a free tip. Free. This will If this doesn't make you study with me, nothing will. Okay, here's a free tip. Sometimes it's nice when you reach out to a publisher. They know you want work. They know you're a narrator. All you're doing is saying, I just listened to whatever book they just put out. You guys did a great job. What a great listen. Really, really finest kind. Who doesn't like to hear that?
Right.
I'm just telling you, you know, and a lot, I don't know, almost nobody I know does things like that. And I don't understand. It's the easiest thing. Say, Don Baarns, I listened to your show with Johnny and Carol. Man, it's really good. I really thank you for it's really nice. How can he not feel good about that email and about that person?
Yeah. And we're all going to remember that. Now, by the way, I do this on LinkedIn. It's one of my little strategies. I make more comments on other people's posts than I do posting. Because and then they go, who's this Baarns guy? I mean, they don't know me necessarily because I'm a contact of them, but it's a loose contact. The reason we got connected was I'm also connected with Carol and Johnny. And so they accepted my little request, you know, hey, can we connect? And they say, sure, because you know these other important people. Well, then I need to make that doesn't mean anything to them at that point until I start commenting on their stuff. So anybody that I want to that I would like to develop a relationship with, I start commenting on their post. Hey, that's cool. Oh, I like your dog. And by the way, it can be as simple as if they put a picture of their dog, they like their dog. I like my dog. And if their dog's cute, I'm going to say, good looking puppy there, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
what
then,
an ugly baby.
What an ugly baby.
I saw your kid.
That's
Jesus.
only if it's you, Johnny. If I saw you, I'd say that. But I wouldn't say it in public.
Wow. Your baby looks like Winston Churchill. That's disgusting.
And I will say, you do need to work on your ankles too. I've seen them. Okay.
That's beautiful.
So
No,
before we wrap up here, so
are there more questions?
Sarah's talking about, you know, we market to the event being hosted. Now, here's something interesting. Their event is sold out. So what are they smart enough to do? They still mention it. Heller's thing, every year, the New England Narrators Conference sells out. And this cracks me up, but it's also a sign of value. Every year he's announced it, he announces it to people that have already been there, and he's like 98% sold out within the first couple weeks in a normal case. But it's the return rate is crazy, and then people tell other people. So you do want to make sure that whatever event you want to go see, if it does sell out, then you need to get on the radar of those people so you hear about it next year. And there is some real magic when you are going and meeting people and becoming a three-dimensional person to those people so that they know you and know your strengths and weaknesses. And while Heller knows, you know, I've got plenty of weaknesses and he knows them personally, he also knows that there are some strengths there. And so he gets to, we get to know about everybody else a lot bigger picture, and that really helps when they're thinking about you for work later.
That's true too, but also just the sheer growth. I think, you know, I really do think the New England Narrator Retreat is one of the most fulfilling, enriching, and educational.
Yeah. The relationships that come out of them are gold. You meet people and you do more than just talk business. And there is something special about knowing a little bit about somebody's dog or what their hobby is or what else they like to do. It's way more. So those producers you're trying to meet, you find out that they're a cat person or a dog person or a horse person or whatever. They like these other things.
Yeah.
You better be sending them a little note. If you find out they like horses and you find an article about this new horsey thing that's super cool, you send Johnny that horse's rear end picture because he's going to be all in on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll be all in the horse's rear end. Yeah.
All in.
Yeah. I will say, you know, here's something else when we go to these events, you'll not only see the publishers and the casting people and the coaches, you'll see your colleagues, the people, of course, you've talked to in these groups. Yeah, I met Ellen Quay, you know that? She came, I didn't know her, just delightful, fell in love with her. She sings, she's just charming.
Singer.
And there's so many people. I'm like, now I know who you are. I've got Gary Tiedman, who I think is in the audience. He and I are great friends now because of this. Steve Corona. You meet these people and it's like, oh, I just love these people. I'm just So many great people you meet. Let me just say a couple quick things before we go.
Yeah.
Scott Brick and I have our Sunday, March 3rd, audiobook business workshop. It's almost sold out. It's going to be in the same building, same place as the APA mixer. So we start first thing in the morning, little breakfast, and we give you lunch, and then we're going to finish and walk right to the mixer.
Wow.
There's swag bags. There's a lot of stuff. It's really cool. May 5th is a Sunday night, I think. So Sunday night we get into New Orleans if you're coming. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we'll have breakfast and lunch on us, and we'll have workshops. And the late afternoon, evenings are free to we're gonna get some tours like ghost tours and cocktail tours and stuff like that. So it's New Orleans. That's gonna open probably today or tomorrow on my website, johnnyheller.com. New Orleans. There's a great rate. I've got room rates. Like I think I can get rooms for about $170,
Wow.
Oh my
which is
gosh,
awesome.
That's great.
The event itself will probably cost 900 or something because it has to, but you get a lot for that, and so that's New Orleans, and so it's gonna be a workshop vacation,
Cool.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna open New England early too. So get ready for that. Follow me,
Yay.
johnnyheller.com, for all that stuff.
Yeah, I just
or on
put that
or
in
on
the
Facebook.
comments there.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Carol, anything you have coming up that people should know about?
Oh, I think laundry.
Okay. And you coach though too, right? Are
I
you?
do. I coach. Please, you know, check out carolmondaVO.com. You'll see a coaching section, and you can book a session there. It also has the rates. And the nice thing I think for most of my eventual students is that I give a free consultation, so we have some time to work out what's your goal, what's what do you think your strengths are, what do you want to work on, those kinds of things.
Cool, cool. And for those of you, you're on this channel now, 3 hours from now, every Tuesday, I do VO Tech Simplified, where we talk about all the stupid stuff that has to go on in the background to be successful in this business without being a brain surgeon. Heller is one of the best narrators in the world. Carol's in that same vein, and they're not. At least I'll talk about Heller. He's not Mr. Technical in some areas. He's brilliant in so many areas, and he is smart enough to say, hey, I don't need to know everything about everything, but he gets coached in narration, in acting, and he has other people handling a bunch of his tech stuff. So you can do the same thing, but join us on that channel too. Any final words, Carol first, and then Johnny?
I'm just so glad that you guys started this. I don't know, when did you start it? Recent?
3 months ago?
This year?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 3
Okay,
months
thought
ago.
so.
By the way, there's a playlist
Really
on
want
this
it.
channel that has all the back versions, so you can get a playlist. I
Oh,
got to
good.
get that stuff going. But anyways, Carol, sorry.
That's great. No, I just wanted to say that you guys provide the same kind of thing that I think all of us are starving for, which is people talking shop and talking with each other, colleagues, um, first before, just a brainstorm strategy, as I think Victor was talking about. You know, what's your CRM? What do you use to work out your calendar for the day?
Cool.
That's
Well, make sure to contact Carol. It's in the notes. It's in the comments. Johnny, any last words here?
No, just thanks everybody. Please tell your friends to watch this, to join us live or watch it later. The more people we get to see this, the better it is for everybody, I think.
Yeah,
And,
Yep, we appreciate you showing up, and of course, we're back next Tuesday. And I'm drawing a blank on our guest next Tuesday. Do you remember, Johnny?
is it Tanya Eby?
I don't remember, boy,
I
but
have to look. I have to look. See,
yeah, if you
it
could,
might be.
because it is.
Man,
Do you know who that is? It'd take me a second to find, and that's
take me
really
one second.
silly
I can
of
open
me.
it in 1 second if we can chat. Yada
Yeah,
yada yada.
yeah.
Show guest Heller Baarns. Here it comes. Tanya Eby is next.
Okay,
Tanya,
who is
you were right.
she? Who is she? I don't know.
Yes.
Tell me about her, Johnny.
Tanya Eby she's a writer, she's an author, super talented narrator. She had her own audiobook publishing company for a long time. Now she's working with Dion Audio.
Okay.
She lives in, I believe, Grand Rapids. She's in a wonderful relationship now, which she was very upfront on social media about establishing.
Good.
She's funny. She's witty. She's talented. She's charming. She's a delight. She's
Okay.
Tanya Eby.
All right.
She's Tanya Eby.
Fantastic. So we'll see you all next week. And of course, we look forward to seeing you on the wires. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.